I'm doing multiply first. Step number 1, change to improper fraction. Change to improper fractions.
Why is these scissors on my desk? My sister's bad.
Step number 2, cancel if possible, and I'll explain that when we do the example. Cancel if possible. Step number 3, top times top, or numerator times numerator if you like that better, and bottom times bottom, or denominator times denominator. Brody, what's the matter? You're interrupting me. You're interrupting me. Reduce. Step number 4, reduce. Step number 5, change to mixed fraction. Change to mixed fraction. Grabbing my red pen for an important purpose. What step did we do yesterday when we were adding and subtracting that is nowhere on that list? That's here, but what did we do yesterday that's not on this list? There was like a, say it again, say it again. There's no common denominator for multiplying, ever. That's an adding and subtracting thing. And usually when I'm like, hey, we're multiplying, kids, what's the first step? Someone goes, common denominator. I'm like, no. It's only adding and subtracting, never with multiplying. Am I boring you? Could you yawn louder next time, maybe? A little bit? Yeah. An example, negative 1⁵ times 2½ Negative 1⁵ times 2½ Again, just a reminder, I like to number the example so that it corresponds to the step number, so later you can see exactly what was step 1, step 2, etc. Step number 1, change to improper fraction. 5 times 1 plus 1. And that negative just hangs out in front. I'm not worried about it. It just hangs out there and sits there. 2 times 2 plus 1. The next step, cancel if necessary. You get to cancel or reduce anything on the top with anything on the bottom. Doesn't matter if they're in different fractions. And what this is going to do is make your multiplication a lot easier. So take a look. If I have a 5 on the top and a 5 on the bottom, what can I divide them both by? 5. So what's 5 divided by 5? So I'm going to have a 1 and a 1. What about 6 and 2? What can I do? Yes, but what can I divide them both by? 2. So 2 divided by 2 is? And 6 divided by 2 is? And so I'm just going to write that so it's not so crowded together. So I have negative 3/1, yep, times 1/1. All the step 2 does is makes the multiplication way smaller numbers. Then step 3, I multiply across. Now the other mistake besides common denominator is people want to cross multiply here. Because somewhere in grade 8, they're like, cross multiply, and you're like, yeah, cross multiply, and then you want to do it every single question. The only time you cross multiply is when there's an equal sign in between two fractions. Send them on their way, Riley, send them on their way. If there's an equal sign in between, cross multiply as often as you want. If there is no equal sign between them, no cross multiply. So we go negative 3 times 1. And a 1 times 1? Reduce. I can't reduce, but do I really need that 1 on the bottom? No. So I can just write the answer as -3. And then in this example, I don't need to change back to mixed fraction. No common denominator, no cross multiplying. Remember this from last year? Some yes, some no's, maybe? If you've never seen this before, does that make sense? Closing multiplying, let's go to dividing. What was the first step with adding and subtracting, and what was the first step with multiplying? What do you think the first step's going to be over here? I'm going to write step 2 in red because it's the one thing that's really unique to dividing that we don't do with adding, subtracting, or multiplying. Does anyone remember the trick with dividing? We change it to a multiplying, but we have to do something first. Something with the bottom or second fraction. Yeah, remember flipping that second fraction? Does anyone remember the math word for when you flip a fraction? Anybody know what it's called? Reciprocal. It's called take the reciprocal, which means to flip. So take the reciprocal. Take the reciprocal of the second fraction. And that just means flip it. Step 3, cancel if possible. It's like a herd of elephants is next door. 4 top times top, bottom times bottom. Step 5, reduce. What was the last step with adding and subtracting and the last step with multiplying, which is now going to be the last step with dividing? Notice the first step and last step are the same for every single operation. I want you to open the method for multiplying and open the method for dividing, and I just want you to compare. Multiplying and dividing. What do you see? They're all the same except for? That's it. That's the only thing that's different in division. Dallin, are you sleepy? You go put your head up, sweetie. Up, 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 wakey, wakey. Okay. Do you have anything to take for it? Oh, I can't give you either. The only thing that's different is number 2. After that, it's exactly the same. If there's no common denominator here, no common denominator here. That's only with adding and subtracting, never multiplying or dividing. Example we're going to do is -2 1/4 divide by -3 1/2. -2 1/4 divided by -3 1/2. Step number 1 is the same step with any single operation, is changed to improper. 4 times 2 plus 1. And what do I do with that negative? Let's put them in front. 3 times 2 plus 1. What do I do with that negative? Put them in front. I'm going to do step number 2 in red pen because it's the only step that's different from multiplication. This step says we keep the first fraction exactly the way it is. All I'm going to do is flip the bottom one, and the negative can go wherever you want. It can stay on the top, it can move to the bottom, it doesn't matter. I usually keep it with the 7, so I'm going to put the 2 on top and negative 7 on bottom. If you have negative 2 over 7, same thing. And then because I flip this, what do we do with the sign? We make it a multiplication. Only thing different with division is we flip the second fraction. Now I look and see if I can reduce anything. Is there anything I can reduce with 9? Anything with 2? I can divide 2 and 4 by 2. So the 2 divided by 2 becomes? And the 4 divided by 2 becomes? 2. Can I do anything with the 9 and 7? Nope. So I'm just going to rewrite it. 9 over 2 times 1 over negative 7. Cross multiply? No. What do we do? Top times top, bottom times bottom, so just straight across. So negative 9 times 1. On the bottom, 2 times negative 7. Thank you. High five. Can I reduce? Kind of. Can't reduce the numbers, but what can I reduce? Yeah, what's a negative divided by a negative? So remember, if these signs are opposite, it becomes positive. Can I change to mixed fraction? 50-50? How do we know if I can change to a mixed fraction? Thank you. How do I know if I can change to a mixed fraction?
If the top number is bigger than the bottom.
Correct. So we are done. Final answer is 9 on 14. Close that up. Be careful just turning your page that you don't like smush them as you turn it over. Same page as yesterday, so we're just continuing on with example number 2.
Wait, should I grab? Should I do all this from yesterday?
Yes. You can continue on. You can do a new one if you want. It's up to you. I always love the fancy multiplication sign when it's typed. It looks so pretty. This is the first one with brackets, but we're not going to freak out. Do those brackets really matter? No, if you don't like them, don't write them there. It's completely up to you. If you don't care about them, just do the steps as normal. They have no impact at all on the question. Step number 1 is change to improper. Done. Step number 2. That's for division, so it's for multiplication. What's step number 2 for multiplication? Cancel anything you can, so it's going to make the multiplication easier. Is there anything I can cancel with this 3 that's on top? Sure, the 3 on the bottom. What can I divide them both by? So 3 divided by 3. And on the bottom, 3 divided by 3. I got a 4 and a 2 left. Can I reduce them by any number? What can I divide them both by? So 2 divided by 2. And I'm just keeping that negative there, so it was negative 2 becomes negative 1. And 4 divided by 2? And then I like to rewrite it just so they're not all confused and there's lots of stuff going on there. So I like to just make it neat and rewrite what's left. Top times top, bottom times bottom. 1 times negative 1. 2 times 1. Can I reduce? Do I need to change back into mixed? Final answer. So in the grand theory of this question, did the brackets matter? Nope. Did the negative matter? Nope, just tagged along, answer became negative. What are you confused on? Which step? This one or this one? This one? So we reduce the 4 and the negative 2, we divide them each by 2, and we reduce the 3 and the 3, we divided them each by 3. So that's just canceling to make the number smaller. Nope. Letter B. Negative 3 divided by negative 2 and 3/4. Negative 3 divided by negative 2 and 3/4. First thing we need to talk about is this 3, because this is fractions, and he's not a fraction. Oh, but he is. What's on the bottom that we don't see, but we know it's there? So I just tend to put a little dotted line, just I call it the imaginary 1. We know it's there, but we don't need to write it, but if you want to write it, that's how you're going to write it. Okay, step number 1 for division is the same as step number 1 for the multiplication, is the same as step number 1 for adding and subtracting. What's always, always, always your first step? Change to improper. So the negative 3 over 1 is going to stay. 4 times 2 plus 3. And what happens to that negative that was in front of the 2? He just stays in front of the 11. Step number 2 for division, that's the red step because it's different than multiplication. What is step number 2? What's it called? What's it called? I want you to say the vocabulary word. Reciprocal. Take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So I'm going to keep the negative 3 on 1. I'm going to take that second guy and just flip him. And again, just repeating, the negative can be with the 11, it can be with the 4, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to change the sign to a multiplication. Would I want you to show? You just can't leave it as a division. There has to be some kind of indication you understand we're now multiplying. Step number 3 is cancel. Can I cancel this 3 with anything on the bottom? With the 1 isn't going to matter. Can I cancel the 4 with anything on the bottom? Nope. Yep, top times top, bottom times bottom. Can I reduce? What can I do with those 2 negatives? Yeah, you're just a step ahead of me. The last step is change it to a mixed number. Almost. Perfect. Show me your thumb. Getting this? Kind of getting this? Not getting this? Brandon, I care. I care if you're getting it. I heard a question. Because what's a negative divided by a negative? Remember from yesterday with the integer work? Good question. Let us see. Negative 2 and 1/8 divided by 1 1/4. Step number 1 is the same step for every single operation. What's the first thing you're always going to do? Go and do that step. The first fraction becomes? And the second one becomes? Questions where those came from. Notice the negative just tags along. We're not worried about it. He just hangs out there. What is the step number 2 for division that's in red because it's different than multiplication? Reciprocal of the second fraction. Go ahead and take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Step number 3 is cancel anything on the top with anything on the bottom. Note that you have to flip before you cancel. You can't do the canceling first. Is there anything I can divide this 17 by that's going to cancel on the bottom? What about the 4? 4 and 8, so what can I do with the 4 and the 8? Okay, so 4 divided by 4. Good. 8 divided by 4. And then I just like to rewrite it just so it's not so messy. Ooh, and I made it 71. Step number 4, top by top, bottom by bottom. Go ahead and multiply those. You should end up with what on the top? Perfect. And the bottom? Step number 5, can we reduce? Step number 6, can we change to mixed? Notice I did B sideways and I did C vertically. I don't care which way you do it. Pick whichever one you like better. Sideways tend to be more right brain. Lefties tend to be more down, but whatever. D, find a friend, turn and talk. Do D together, and then we'll talk in a couple minutes. Oh, don't even look there. Don't look yet. Don't look down. Just keep your eyes up. Eyes up. Don't look down. Shh, don't do it. I'm just going to slowly start working on the question behind you so you can check yours as I do it. You can put a times, you can put a dot. Don't care. Just show me its multiplication. Heard a few people say they flip the second one. Again, that's common once we've done division, but you just want to make sure if you're multiplying, no flip. Can I reduce 2 and 16? No, why not? One has to be on the top and one has to be on the bottom. So no reduction here, just top times top, bottom times bottom. Negative 2 times negative 16. Why is it positive? You got it. And 1 times 7, 7. Reduce, mixed, sorry, 4 and 4 sevenths. Did you get it? Put your hand up. High fives. Let's look at E. It's a little scary. No, because there's going to be one like this in the homework, and then you'll cry if I don't show you how to do it. What? What is that? We call this a compound fraction. It's a fraction in a fraction. It's like a fraction inception. It is. It is totally legal. If your brain is like, no, I don't want to do this, you can write them side by side. There's nothing wrong with that. You can write it as our negative 2 on 5, then put a division sign, then put our 4 on 7. It means exactly the same thing. This is the equivalent of a division sign. So if your brain is like, nope, don't like that, then just write it the way you're used to seeing. See, not so scary now. Step number 1, change to improper. Step number 2, it's division. Take the reciprocal. Step number 3, cancel anything you can. Can I cancel the 2 with anything? Okay, what can I cancel both of these by? 2. Can I cancel the 7 and the 5? Nope. Step number 4. Negative 1 times 7?
Negative 7.
5 times 2?
10.
Reduce? Mixed? Final answer. Show me a thumb. Getting this, feeling okay with this, comfortable, kind of getting it, not getting it, anywhere in between. Good. Take a look at our last one. What? What?
What would you divide, like, reduce now?
So even if you've never seen a question like this before, you know what the first step is, because what's the first step, whether we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, always the first step is. So do that step. Even if you can't go further, you can get yourself a half mark by doing that step.
What do you like multiply first?
Kind of. I'll show you in a second. 9 on 4, 6 on 5, 11 on 5? Yes?
Yeah.
Do I need to flip when I'm multiplying?
No.
So the only thing I need to worry about is this division. What you're always going to flip is whatever comes after the division sign. So this is the one we're going to flip because he comes after the division symbol. So I'm going to keep that 9 on 4. I'm going to keep that 6 on 5. I'm just going to flip my 11 on 5 to be 5 on 11. And what's going to happen to that division sign? You can put an X, you can put a dot. Doesn't matter, whatever you feel like. I saw that. Top times top times top. So we just do all the way across the top. Oh, I forgot to reduce. No, I forgot to reduce first. Like lefties will understand this. I feel like rewriting the whole page now.
Are those new ones with like that really weird texture paper that goes over it? Or
No, they're just cheap, so it sometimes kind of splits, and it's like a bulk pack. Okay. Can I reduce the 9 with anything on the bottom?
No.
The 6? The 6 and the 4 can go. What can I divide them both by? Bless you. Okay, so the 4 is going to become a 2, and the 6 is going to become a 3.
5 by 5.
The 5 and the 5, and what did they become? So I have a 9 on 2, a 3 and a 1, and a 1 and 11. Bless you again. Are you allergic to math? Okay. There is something in the desk in front of Brody. There's something in the air, because I call that the sneezing desk. Whoever sits there sneezes at least once a day. So there's something with the air vent. It's the sneezing desk. Every class somebody sneezes. Now I just do top times top times top. So I don't care how many fractions we have. We just multiply all along the top. So 9 times 3 times 1. 2 times 1 times 11.
22.
Reduce. Mixed.
1 and 5, 27.
Oh, right brain just scratch in there. That's such a right brain. Questions?
Can you show the whole thing so I can